this week, as we're touching on the different aspects of that final phrase in the Lord's Prayer, for thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory, I want to turn today now to the pages of the New Testament and to Matthew chapter 4, beginning at verse 12 through verse 25, which is where in Matthew's gospel we see Jesus beginning his ministry. And it begins after John is kind of off the scene. John has been arrested, and so if you think of it like a play, John exits stage left or stage right, and now Jesus takes center stage. And at the center of those verses, in verse 17, Jesus says, right at the beginning, from that time Jesus began to proclaim, repent, for the kingdom of heaven is near, has come near, or is at hand. And Jesus came from the very beginning, proclaiming a kingdom. Now he would share, as we see throughout the Gospels, that his kingdom was not of this world. It was not a political kingdom. It was not a kingdom that sought to take over the government of Israel or the government of Rome. Jesus came proclaiming the kingdom of heaven, or the kingdom of the heavens. And in his presence, in his very presence, that kingdom had come near, it was at hand, it was being introduced. And in this passage, if you look at it, Jesus then immediately calls his first disciples to be a part of helping him to build that kingdom. And then in verses 23 to 25, we see Jesus ministering to large crowds of people. And again, it says in verse 23, Jesus went throughout Galilee, teaching in their synagogues and proclaiming the good news of the kingdom and curing every disease and every sickness among the people. So his fame spread. People who were afflicted came with all kinds of different diseases and pains, demoniacs, epileptics, and paralytics, and he cured them. And great crowds followed him. From Galilee, the Decapolis, which means the 10 cities on the other side of the Jordan, Jerusalem and Judea. And so at the very beginning, and what follows in Matthew's gospel then is the Sermon on the Mount, where Jesus lays out what he's come to do. But make no mistake, Jesus comes proclaiming and introducing a kingdom of the heavens, a kingdom with very different priorities and values than the kingdoms of this world. The kingdoms of this world, both in ancient times and right up to the present, tend to focus on power, on exploitation, on accumulating wealth, not being afraid to use violence to accomplish their purposes. And the kingdom of heaven that Jesus comes to introduce is not about any of those things. It's a kingdom of love and light and grace and truth and compassion and generosity and courage and selflessness, values that are very antithetical to the kingdoms of earth that focus on power and money and use violence to get what they want. We follow Jesus, and we need to follow his way as we serve in his kingdom.